I want to show you all, I think this is going to impress you guys, the real way that feminism works, Christian feminism works. Okay. I'm going to read to you a passage from Thomas Aquinas, Summa Theologica, Pars 1, question 92. It's rather compelling. But first, I want to play to you the perversion of it by Christian feminists. This is very cringe. This is Father Mike Schmitz, who says that the passage means, this is what Francis always does, the exact opposite of what Thomas, who coined the phrase, what does it mean that the woman's made from the rib of man, not the head, not the foot? This comes from Thomas. Listen to what Father Mike Schmitz says. He perverts Thomas and actually makes it mean the exact opposite. Listen to this.
Before many, many times. But at one point, when I was growing up, we had an Atari, the gaming system. And
this is so cringe. I'm sorry. I've never played such an awful quote on my channel, but you have to hear it or else the Thomas quote won't mean as much.
I had older siblings, so I never got to play the Atari. I just got to watch them play the Atari. But next to the TV that they had the Atari hooked up to was a plaque that my mom had just put there. And the plaque had these words. It said, when God took Eve from Adam, he did not take her from his head to lord it over him, nor from his foot to be walked upon by him. He took her from his side to walk with him, from beneath his arm to be guarded by him, and from near his heart to be loved by him. And it's so powerful, right? When God took Eve from Adam, he did not take her from his head to lord it over him, nor from his foot to be walked upon by him, but from his side to walk with him, from beneath his arm to be guarded by him, from near his heart to be loved by him. And so that's what we see in Genesis 2, is he looks at Eve and says, this one at last is bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. This one is the reason why men leave their father and mother and cling to their bride. And then those key words that John Paul II said is the mystery, the key description we can't even begin to understand. And the man and woman were naked, and yet they felt no shame. Why? Because God, when he made this world, he made it absolute.
So the key phrase here that he talks about often, he's an egalitarian, I'm sorry to say. So when he says that she walks with him, he means that they're equal, which is a Luciferian lie, that man and woman are equal in rank. Now, here's Thomas Aquinas, who says in Summa Theologica, first part, question 92, articles 1, 2, and 3, he deals with it. Woman is naturally subject to man, meaning doesn't walk with him as an equal. He says, it was right for the woman to be made from the rib of man. Father Mike and all the many Christian feminists who follow him say she was made from the rib to signify equality. First, this signifies the social union of man and woman. For a woman should neither use authority over the man, and so she was not made from his head. Okay, so she's not allowed to over him.
It's exactly the opposite, I'm just realizing.
Nor was it right for her to be subject to man's contempt as a slave. So she was not made from his feet. But in the same article, he says it means she was made to be subject to him. So he literally says he reads the exact line that he doesn't know this plaque comes from St. Thomas. And he says it means the exact opposite. St. Thomas says, look, the woman is underneath you, but it shouldn't be like underneath your feet. She is literally your main lieutenant. She's subject to you, but you should be a good lord to her. Father Mike says you're equals. You walk together. So she's not made from your head. So Thomas says this means also you're not equals, right? If you were equals, she would have been made from the head meat. That doesn't mean she would have ruled over you. It's striking stuff. They take a quote from a non-egalitarian and they make it egalitarian.
Yeah, Schmitz's little tirade there is exactly the caricature I was making earlier when I said it sounds like the 40 to 50-year-old Novus Ordo attending parishioner standing around saying, I'm just going to say it. I think we need to hear from women more.
Right.
That's the same. And then now he's quoting a Live, Laugh, Love plaque from his mom's house to justify it.
Yeah.
There's a really good response to that in an old book by Wilhelm and Scannell called Manual of Catholic Theology. And I just bookmarked this page to share with you guys. Listen to this. Of man alone, scripture says directly and formally that he is made to the likeness of God. St. Paul teaches the man indeed ought not to cover his head, what Tim was saying earlier, because he is the image and glory of God, but the woman is the glory of the man. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. For the man was not created for the woman, but the woman for the man. And then they comment, woman then, having received human nature only mediately through man, and to be a helpmate to man, is not an image of God in the same full sense as man. Woman considered as wife, that is, in a position of subjection and dependence, is in no wise an image of God, but rather a type of the relation which the creature bears to the Creator and Lord.
Wow.
So that emphasis on subjection and dependence is there again, which we've been talking about earlier. And when man rejects that, rejects his subjection and dependence to God, then the same type of relation, that's what feminism is fundamentally. It's the attack on that within marriage. I've got a lesson coming up in a second, guys. Got to go, but I really wanted to put that in for you.
That's amazing. What source is that? Well,
that was an old book I was reading called Manual of Catholic Theology by Wilhelm and Scannell. I'll send you the link afterwards.
That's phenomenal.
Thanks for joining, Will. I'll watch what I say after this. I know you got to go, but watch what I say after this, because that sparked a really interesting thought.
Cool. I'll catch it up later. Thanks, guys. Good to talk to you as always. Take care.
Take care, Will.
Love you, Will.
Bless.
Bye. You too. Bye.
Yeah, Tim. So when I'm hearing that, what came crashing into my head is, of course, that's the case. Because if it were otherwise, if men and women were equal, then it would be unjust and barbaric for women to be subject to men.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, that's at the heart of it. Yeah, like you can't it's unjust and barbaric for men to be subject to other men in all ways. Right? I mean, not it's in some cases servants, which get called slave in the Bible, and even I think Prumer will defend that, the moral theologian. But in all ways, women are subject to their husbands. It would be a wild injustice for an equal to be subject to another equal. That can't happen.
And that appears to be why, the women's equality movement is unjust, because they think we're the same thing. We're consubstantial. We're the same form. It's like, no, you're a type of God. That's fascinating. I've heard that once before, but hearing it again in this context, it just became so obvious. Like, yeah, God would have to be evil to subject women to their husbands if they were the same sort of thing, if they were identical and equal.
Right. Yeah, and he doesn't do that. He specifically says this is why it's wrong to exercise dominion over other people's property. It's in the 10 Commandments. One man over another man's property. You can't do that. That would be evil. That would be a contradiction at the heart of nature.
I think part of the reason why women get so spun up about this is it'd be kind of like, the early seasons of American Idol, when the really bad singers would go and audition.
Yeah.
And you were kind of like waiting for them, but it was also painful to watch, because nobody their entire lives told them you can't sing and you should stop trying. But women's entire lives, they've been told you're men and you should be like men and you're going to be treated like men. And if you're not, like, you're being oppressed. And so then they're just unhappy perpetually because nobody told them they can't sing. So stop trying to sing. But the women who know they are not professional singers, which is to say they know that they're women, are the happiest women.
Absolutely.
They have such a lightness about them because they're not burdened with crushed dreams that were never real.
Imagine the level of deeply subtle subversion to I don't know. I think it was an old Simpsons joke where think of what's going on here. They make a funny joke out of Simpsons universe Barbie doll. I forget. I forget what the Barbie doll was called. It was another female name. And it was the pull and talk, the pull the string and talk one. And it's like a Barbie that's like, math is hard. Ha 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 ha. And you're supposed to laugh at that and be like, oh, that's funny. I'm laughing in a naughty way because I'm not supposed to laugh at the fact that women aren't good at math. Have you seen the action, no pun intended, the numbers on this? It's
No.
when I do homeschool, I can't believe how hard math naturally is for my daughters. And genetically, math was always my strongest subject. Even though I was a humanities guy, I just would naturally, those CAT tests, 99%, you know, I never had to study math. It always just clicked. I was a philosopher who could do math. No one else in the department, they're like, Tim, I've seen your GRE scores on math. How did you get that? I'm like, I didn't do philosophy just because I couldn't do math. My daughter should be good genetically. That's all I'm saying. And I have to stop myself from getting frustrated when I'm teaching them any aspect of math, whether algebra or even the multiplication tables at the lower level, because it's genuinely hard for girls. But it's because I was being a feminist, because I watched Simpsons when I was a very young kid, and that stuck in my mind. Oh, I'm laughing, but it's a naughty laughter because we shouldn't laugh at the fact that it's this corrected, spurious fact from erstwhile history that women are bad at math. No, they are. It's hard for them. We're not the same thing. They're different from us. God created them male and female. It's that simple.
Right. And even that point that Will just made, which we'll have to dive into, like personally, because that's fascinating. The point that man is the creation of God, woman is the creation of man. It's not the same thing. Are you as a Catholic woman willing to submit to these truth claims, to these propositions from Holy Writ? Are you going to submit to it? That's the question being asked in 2023. And men, do you have the courage to stand by them, to say that this is my faith? My faith says this is, I'm not going to live in a disordered way with my future wife or my current wife. I'm not going to invert nature. I don't know how much culpability there is. I'm sure my old English teacher, Mr. McNally, a real great guy, he always told us knowledge is tied to culpability. The more you know, the more culpable you are. And so hopefully with this quote unquote ministry of CMAS, this podcast, and then everything that you do and everything that Will does, we're educating guys. But once they know, it's like, now you're culpable. Are you going to live like that? Are you going to allow your wife to LARP as a guy? Are you going to pretend you're a woman?
Well, that's great. That's great capper, I think. The Pope has, in the most summative way, definitive way, comprehensive way, attacked the missiology of the church. Okay, second most definitive way. He's already attacked it in the most definitive way, which is to say that it is a mortal sin against ecumenism to ever convince another of your faith. He said that on several occasions. You're not allowed to spread the faith. So missiologically, that contradicts the church's mission most. But I would say praxeologically, in terms of logistics, how does this actually get done? How do we play our part in the powerful play of the Great Commission, which must go on, is to make the church feminine and to make it not masculine. Francis has said it's a great sin. Notice he's supposed to be the unjudgy guy, but he's always saying the most important aspects of the church. Spreading the gospel, you do it in a masculine way, because even though the church is feminine, qua its relationship to Jesus, it is masculine qua its relationship to its laity and its husbands to wives. It's a masculine teaching voice. So the feminine church has a masculine teaching voice. That's just a fact. That's the 8 is to 4 is to 2. And that's inarguable. We read a fraction of what I have here. You can get this for free, by the way, on timothyjgordon.com. Francis says it's a great sin. He's always saying these things are a great sin. It's a sin to spread the gospel, and it's a sin for the church to not. It's a sin to follow Jesus's example of having only male apostles, Francis says, because, as I probably spent too much time at the beginning of the show adumbrating, we are now in between twin synods. We're in that interregnum. We have the model for what happened 9 years ago at the other twin synods. He's going back and forth between contradicting his goal and bulwarking his goal for this synod. Before he did it with communion for the civilly divorced and remarried in between synods, he would say, I'm not going to do it. I am going to do it. Now that's what he's doing with female deacons. He is going to do it. He might use some vague turn of phrase as to whether or not they're truly ordained, but it'll bump up into de facto ordination. I guarantee you that.